guys, welcome back to Spelling and Word Study. My name is Mrs. Rhoades and I'm here to get you started on Unit 28, the double R pattern. Please take a second to gather your materials. You will need this blue book open to page 173. You will also need some colorful pens, markers, or crayons. Remember, whatever I mark on my board, you should be marking on your page. Please save room for a key as well. You'll notice I've already gone ahead and used orange vertical lines to break all of my words into syllables. This week, that's very easy to do because every single word is going to be sliced between the double R. Arrow, barrel. So you can just quickly right now go through your list and slice your words between the double R's. You'll notice I've also used a light brown check mark to signify the stressed syllable. That's the part of the word that we say a little bit louder and stronger. This week, all of our words have a stressed first syllable with the exception of number 7, corrupt. This word, we say the second part a little bit louder. So we are continuing our conversation about R-controlled vowels, and what you see this week kind of goes hand in hand with Unit 26. Unit 26, we were making the air sound by using the ER pattern in words like perish or terror. We used the AR pattern in words like parent and the UR pattern in the word berry. This week, we're going to use that same sound, that air sound, in words like caret and carry and barrel and arrow, but we're also going to hear some other R-controlled vowels in words like borrow and burrow. So let's start by reading our list. As we do, use your eyes to find that double R pattern and use your ears to pay attention to that R-controlled vowel that comes before it. You're going to be surprised, I think, by some of those vowel sounds. Please repeat after me. Arrow, barrel, borrow, burrow, caret, carry, corrupt, furrow, marry, mirror, narrate, narrow, parrot, sorrow, and sorry. All right, so let's choose a color. And the first thing I want to do is I want to look for this AR pattern in arrow. Now, a couple weeks ago, we saw the word parent. That used A plus 1R to make the air sound. Today, we see A followed by 2 R's in arrow. We see it again in barrel, in caret, and carry, marry, and narrate, narrow, and parrot, and that's it. All right, so that's a good pattern to know. Anywhere we see that red box, we have an AR chunk making an air sound, okay? And like I said, we saw it in parent 2 weeks ago using just 1 R, but all of our words this week are going to use 2 R's. Okay, let's choose another color. And now I want to see what happens when we put the letter O before a double R. We know that OR usually says or. But when we have the O followed by 2 R's, it makes a different sound. Listen here. Borrow. Sorrow. Sorry. All 3 of these words use OR, but it's not making an OR sound. It's actually making an R sound. Isn't that so crazy, right? The AR is pronounced air and the OR is pronounced R. Borrow, sorrow, sorry. Now you'll notice I skipped a word. If you look at the word corrupt, that OR has a different sound. It makes more of a schwa, more of an right? Corrupt. So let's put a box around here, or around there, to remind ourselves that in this word, the OR is making a schwa sound. And my guess is because that's a prefix. You'll notice that com, call, con, cor, co are all prefixes that mean with. So corrupt has something to do with corrupt means rupt means broken. So this is going to have something to do with being morally broken. But we'll talk about that in a second. All right, so we talked about AR. We talked about the two sounds of OR. So now let's look for UR. We see it in burrow and furrow, and that's it. Okay, nothing tricky here because you already know that UR makes an sound. You learned that years ago when you spelled words like curl and burn or hurt. Now we notice in bigger words like furrow and burrow or hurry, it's going to make that same sound. So nothing tricky there. We have one word left. Look at this word, this IR. Now we expect IR to make an sound, right? In words like shirt and skirt and bird. But in this word, mirror, it has a totally different sound. That IR sounds more like ear, right? That's not a common pattern. Besides mirror, you probably won't see that pronunciation very often. Okay, so we talked about the pronunciations of our words. I think the boxed parts are going to be the trickiest. I don't think you're going to have a problem with the OW endings, the EL endings, the OT. You're pretty good with that stuff by now. I do want you to notice, however, that we have a few homophones this week. You remember homophones, two or more words that sound the same, but they're spelled differently and have different meanings. Have you spotted any on the list? Yeah, you probably noticed this word right here. This kind of marry means to wed, like husband and wife. I need a new marker. We'll switch to brown. So this kind of marry means to wed, to have a wedding, right? You marry someone. But there's another kind of marry that we saw 2 weeks ago. This kind of marry means joyful. Merry Christmas means have a joyful Christmas. So marry and marry are homophones. Carrot. This is a vegetable, right? But there's another kind of carrot that's spelled like this. This is the kind of carat that we use when we're talking about a diamond, a 1 carat diamond, or a 1/2 carat diamond. We also use this spelling when we're talking about gold. If we buy jewelry and we're looking for 14 carat gold, that's the spelling we use. There's a third kind of carat, believe it or not, that's spelled like this. You've probably used this kind of carat before. If you're writing a sentence, I am happy. Oops, I forgot to write the word am. I put a little caret there, and then I write the word am up there. So this little mountain symbol is a caret, okay? So carrot, caret, and caret are all homophones. Another homophone is burrow. This kind of burrow means to dig a hole. So it can be a verb, but it can also be a hole. certain animals live in a burrow. So it can be a noun as well, right? Snakes live in a burrow. But there's another kind of burrow spelled like this. And this kind of burrow would be a neighborhood. So if you think of New York City, it's made up of 5 boroughs. You've got Brooklyn, you've got the Bronx, you've got Manhattan, you've got Staten Island, and then there's another one I'm missing. But each of those sections of the city are known as boroughs. When you get to page 177, you're going to have more practice with homophones. You're going to see burrow, burrow, caret, caret, Mary, Mary, but you're also going to see some homophones that we talked about a couple weeks ago, berry and berry, or fairy and fairy. Okay, so be ready for those as well. Let's erase some of our homophones, and then over here, brown line equals homophone. Okay. What I want to do now is go through and make sure we know what all of our words mean. Okay? So I think you know what an arrow is. That's a noun, right? Something that points. Maybe you shoot with a bow and arrow. A barrel is a noun. It looks something like this. In the olden days, they'd make barrels out of wood, and you would store water in a barrel, or you'd store flour in a barrel. Sometimes we call our garbage cans barrels. We call them trash barrels. So it's just a big, rounded container. To borrow something, that's a verb, right? Somebody gives you something, and then you tell them you'll return it to them. We talked about burrow. A caret is a noun. To carry is a verb. Corrupt is an adjective. So I started to explain this a little bit. Anytime you see this root, rupt, it has something to do with breaking. Think about rupture. If somebody's appendix ruptures, that means it breaks. If you disrupt the class, you're breaking the kids' concentration. Okay? If somebody's corrupt, that means they're morally broken. So we hear this word sometimes talking about certain politicians, right? They go into politics because they want to serve their country, but then maybe they get overcome by greed and they start making bad decisions. They become corrupt. So we're just going to say morally broken. It's like you no longer know or care about the differences between right and wrong. Furrow can be a verb, but it can also be a noun. A furrow is a line or a wrinkle that's kind of carved in. So sometimes you hear about someone having a furrowed brow, like if they're deep in thought, there's like a wrinkle that goes across their forehead. The other time you hear about furrows is when you learn about farmers. When they are getting their fields ready for planting, they carve these furrows into the ground, these long holes that go across, and then they drop the seeds into the furrows. Okay, we talked about marry, that's a verb. A mirror, something you look at, that's a noun. To narrate is to tell a story. Think about a narrator. The narrator is the person who tells the story. Narrow is an adjective. It means not wide. So sometimes at grocery stores, I'm pushing my cart this way, someone else is pushing their cart this way. Because the aisle is so narrow, we have trouble fitting and squeezing past each other. A parrot is a bird, that's a noun. Sorrow is a noun. Sorrow is deep sadness. When people go to a funeral or a wake, they're often filled with sorrow, deep sadness. And then sorry is an adjective. It describes how a person feels. I am sorry. I feel sorry for you. It means you feel bad, right? Either you feel bad for someone else or you feel bad for something you did. Okay, one last thing I want to talk about with you. When you get to page 176, you're going to practice adding different inflectional endings to words. And so I just want you to look at carry quickly, because I can change carry to carrying, no problem. But watch what happens when I change carry to carries, like she carries her backpack everywhere. That Y changes to I, and then I add ES. Same thing with carried. I carried my brother into the school. I change the Y to I and add ED. So just be careful of that. You're going to see that with carry, and you're also going to see it with marry. Drop the Y, change it to I before you add ES or ED. All right, that's all I have for you today. Good luck, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.